Thank you, Irshita. Good afternoon to one and all present here. It is a great privilege to introduce our esteemed guest, Mr. Raman santhanakrishnan. Sir is the Managing Director of LSI India Research and Development Private Limited, an Avago Technologies company, co-headquartered in Silicon Valley, California, and Singapore. Avago Technologies is a leading designer, developer, and global supplier of a broad range of analog, digital, mixed signal, and optoelectronics components and subsystems. LSI India, an indirect subsidiary of Avago Technologies, is a critical R&D center for Avago with a large presence in Bangalore and Pune. Since his appointment as MD of LSI India in late 2010, he has been focusing on driving LSI India's strategic value add by executing to the parent company's global R&D model. Sir has been with LSI Avago for 20 plus years, spent 11 years, that is 1993 to 2004 in LSI California before moving to LSI India in 2004. He continues to hold a strong engineering management responsibility besides being the MD of LSI India. On the engineering side, Mr. Raman has been working on various design, development and implementation of ASIC products and tools. Mr. santhanakrishnan post-graduated with an MTech degree in electrical engineering from IIT Kanpur in 1992 and has also completed an executive general management program from IIM Bangalore in 2010. Sir is a co-inventor of 6 US patents. He is an active participant and representative of LSI India at industry associations, delivers keynote speeches in industry conferences, has organized and moderated panel discussions in many industry events, including the VLSI conferences in 2009 and 2010. Sir was a co-general chair of the 2013 VLSI Design Conference. His professional interests include trends in computing and software development and emerging business models in a globalized economy. Sir reads selectively, particularly non-fiction. On the personal front, he is an avid follower of political and business news, loves everything about cricket, and is addicted to do video editing. Now, I would request Sir to share his experience with the audience. Sir, the podium is all yours.
Thank you. All right, good afternoon. Great. So I was told this is a session after lunch, so I thought I'll put you all to sleep and have some nice, session here. All right, so let's get started since we are running a little bit behind schedule. Yeah, okay. So let me start by saying I'm quite excited to be here today. It's a great privilege to be talking in front of you, to see the campus and interact with your various students and professors. And I want to call out especially a few people who have been interacting with me over the last few weeks to make this happen. So I know an event of this magnitude requires tremendous effort by many student volunteers as well as the management staff. I think you should all be proud of pulling together such an event, and I'm really excited to be here. So with that, I think I'll like to get started. And I've titled the presentation saying interactions because it's a very open format. I wanted to see what I can get out of this as much as hopefully you are able to get some insights. And I think that's the key essence of what it takes to succeed in today's competitive world. How well we interact and how well we learn from each other. And since this is a session that's straight after lunch, and that too on a Saturday, so it's a perfect matinee time for a movie, right? On any other day, that's what we would have done. So my question to you is, what's your favorite movie? Clearly there are a lot of people here, so I may pick one or two of you at the end and then ask you this question. And when we ask this question, we kind of start thinking, hey, what are the things we are going to focus on when we say, what's your favorite movie? So I thought I'll add a sub-question to that, which is, what is it that we learn from, right? There are a lot of movies we watch for entertainment reasons, and there are a lot of movies where we watch for certain, very intense themes. And I have a strong feeling that we learn quite a bit from the world we interact with. And definitely, for me, movies have been a great source of information as well as inspiration, right? So at the end of the presentation, I'll ask probably two of you to volunteer that. So if you have some very good themes on that, keep that with you, and then we'll discuss that. And while I'm presenting, if there are any comments or anything, feel free to raise your hand, we'll interact, right? Or else we'll reserve for some Q&A at the very end. So before I get started, I just thought, I'll first introduce a little bit about 2-3 minutes to, who we are, LSI and Avago. And if you are confused whether I belong to LSI or Avago, join the club, because we are also equally confused. And the reason is very simple. There is a company called Avago that has existing, right, and which came out of Hewlett-Packard, and it has a long history of very innovative products being brought to the market. And similarly, in Silicon Valley, there's a company called LSI Logic that was formed, which was credited with founding an ASIC industry, and then AT&T Bell Labs, which for many of you in the telecom side of things, you would know as the mother of all innovative companies in the world, right? So they brought the telephone and then the wireless and the Wi-Fi technologies. So that R&D arm also. So over a period of multiple decades, there have been a lot of mergers and acquisitions, and that's how today it is. And so worldwide we are called Avago. In India, we are called LSI India, primarily because of the way we are structured. We are present in Bangalore and Pune. We have a large presence in both the cities, and I visit Pune almost every 2 weeks, but not to this Hinjawadi area, so primarily in the Yerwada and Koregaon Park, that side of things. So quite excited to be here, and that's where this company is, who we are, LSI or Avago. And what do we do? To introduce you to say what we do, I thought I'll introduce you to a new term called data-centric era. And many of us can relate to the industrial era, the computing era, the silicon era. There have been so many great innovations that have come to the world, and they have fundamentally transformed the society and have benefited humankind. And today we are living in an era where everything is centered around data. And to just give you a perspective of that, I'll show you in the last 3 minutes that I've been talking to you, so many things have happened in the world. And and all of us have been part and parcel of this. Some of them on a people-to-people, individual communication, some of them business related. But the key aspect is, if you see at the bottom, the amount of data that is either transferred across the networks or that is stored and created is of the order of close to 2 million gigabytes. And this is in a matter of 3 minutes. And in fact, this particular statistic is almost 3 years old. So you can see the exponential growth of data that is happening, and that flows through the networks. And why is that relevant? It's relevant because there are these 5 major trends that are happening around us. And you might have heard this phrase called SMAC. Social, right, mobility, and analytics, cloud, as well as video. All of these are causing really exponential growth in network traffic as well as data traffic, 30 to 50% in some cases. But if you look at a traditional IT investment, what we do is at best 5 to 7% is the capital outlay that we do, buying bigger servers, buying bigger routers, and enhancing the networks and all of those, right? So it creates a gap between how fast we are growing and how fast we can actually make the investments to support that. And that's where companies like ours come in, where we do a lot of innovation in silicon that tries to bridge that gap. So everything that we do as a product is centered around the data-centric era's secular trends, which is exponential growth in network traffic as well as data traffic. So you have all we are all fortunate to be in this era because there is so much of beneficial aspects of mankind, innovation that is coming about. And I think each one of us will have a significant contribution to make in this. And that's pretty much what, LSI as a company is. Of course, when we live in India, we have some additional challenges, and everybody can relate to this, right? The traffic around us. And by the way, this is a picture of, I think, somewhere Shivaji Nagar in Pune, right? Somewhere in that, which is the traditional bottleneck. I would love to talk about it, but what I'm going to talk about is not about this traffic, but the other traffic that we are all familiar with. This is a traditional, picture, right, where you have a tall building, on top of it, there is a cell phone tower. And let me tell you, other than the windows on that building, nothing else is green in that. Okay? The reason is simple. If you look at, there are about 300 to 400,000 cell phone towers in India today, and given that power is a major challenge in most parts of the world, what we end up doing is we need 24/7 cell phone towers to be operational. We can't tell someone, hey, power is down, don't call me or I'll not be accessible. So what we do is we go get diesel generator sets, and then we go put them, and diesel generator sets again, is very demanding in terms of, we don't produce diesel in this country, we have to actually import it. So it's not only a big issue in terms of foreign exchange, but also a big issue in terms of what we call, cause as pollution. Almost 5 million tons of carbon dioxide emissions come about. So the simple cell phone that we want as a 24/7 uptime has such types of effect on the overall environment. So, these are not necessarily technical issues, but these are also issues that are affecting the society and how the ecosystem plays in. So we as professionals looking at these problems, how do we translate such situations? So I thought I'll give you a flavor of the type of engineering problems that we deal with in our company. And our problem statement is simple. When we go from, let's say, 2G to 2.5G to 3G, now 4G LTE, we all want more bandwidth, and it should happen at a faster speed, right? We want fatter pipes and faster network as well. But it's not sufficient. We also need to have a very high, very low cost of this, as well as the power consumption has to be lower. So you put all of these together, it becomes a very complex engineering problem to solve. And these are some of the challenges that we as a company are working. And of course, there are many other players in this industry who are solving this. So the reason why I brought this problem in front is to highlight that I think many of the challenges that we work on to solve have a very positive as well as very challenging situation as far as the society is concerned. Why is that relevant? Because I'm very proud of the type of work that we do in India, and it's not just my company, it's pretty much many of the companies that we have. And let me tell you, some of the world's most advanced R&D for many of the global products are being done right here in India. And in fact, Bangalore and Pune are one of the two top destinations in terms of some of these companies. Many multinationals, many Indian companies. So the amount of talent that we have and how we deploy them to actually go make these products successful for the whole world, not just for India, I think has been a huge success. Typically when you talk about IT sector, people talk about some of the software side of things, and NASCOM and all these guys do a very good job of promoting that. And definitely they have done a wonderful job of showcasing India and India's talent. What I want to share with you is, even on the electronics and the semiconductors and the system software side of things, tremendous amount of advancements have happened, and industry bodies like India Semiconductor Association have been driving a lot of improvements on that. Agreed, there are a lot of things we need to do from a manufacturing point of view, but from the intellectual property creation as well as designing products, I think India has been really doing well. And I always look at it and say, hey, what is the key to our continued success? Despite the various advancements, how can we continue to sustain this, and how can we derive leadership out of this? And that's where we all come in. And notwithstanding the specific domain knowledge, whether it is telecom or electronics or embedded software or the associated business aspects. The one thing that we find which is very critical is, are we learning continuously? And, using every opportunity that we have to continuously learn. Learn continuously, right? And it's not just about books or classes, learning from anything, anytime, anywhere. And that's why I asked the first question, which is your favorite movie and what is the, one or two learnings that we have. So we'll still come back to this. So what I thought we will do is to say that, let's, oops, all right. I haven't learned how to operate this. So let's share some learnings today. And I wanted to tell you, most of the content presented here from a copyright point of view are not mine. And that's very critical because I think, it's very critical to acknowledge who the, sources of those ideas are. So I thought I'll throw some pictures here. I know it's a large audience, so probably a bit difficult to interact. But if any of you recognize any of the pictures in this, just raise your hand. Let's see if we can get one or two answers, right? I told you it's going to be interactive, so if you are looking for sleeping after lunch, sorry, I'm going to disturb you now. Any? Okay, so we'll keep these pictures. These are for me as an individual. There have been various people who have inspired me to do certain things. I have actually learned quite a bit from them, and you would find them as brilliant sources of how we can actually get ahead in life. So let's start with, the first question. We are all very eager to grow in our lives. We all want to, gain more capabilities and become experts and actually contribute positively. So the question is, how do we spend our time towards our future? What are the things that we do? And so here is a speaker who's very well known for asking these three questions, right? Where is the next big change happening in front of us? Her name is Rosalinda Torres. And, the three questions that we ask are, who are we spending the most time with? What are we, where are we spending? What are we really discussing? What kind of topics are we focusing on? And as I said, anytime, anywhere, there is definitely learning to be done. And, typically, if you see, right, and especially as professionals trying to learn and grow, there are multiple sources of information. And to me, right, today living in a data-centric era where, information is available everywhere, right? Books are definitely a very critical component. In fact, I just toured your library as well. You have a very impressive collection. I would say, it's a very good source of lot of information that are very relevant for us. It's always a challenge, but continuing to do that, we also get tremendous amount of information from blogs as well. And these days, you have a lot of, very content-specific themes that are delivered as part of TED Talks. You are familiar with TED Talks? Yeah, good. So that Rosalinda Torres is one of the famous TED Talks that I mentioned, right? And similarly, newsletters. And what are the types of topics we focus on? We focus on things like geopolitics, movies, sports, global business. I think becoming an all-round individual is very critical. And to me, these are the things that have really been the source of learning. And I thought I'll share that with you. And the other big thing that we focus on is, how diverse is our thought process? What is the, measure of diversity in terms of the richness of ideas that we get? And, I thought the best way to illustrate that is through another story, right? So, this is a problem that, NASA faced. And as you know, there was a rover called Curiosity that landed on landed on Mars probably a couple of years ago. And there was a very simple to understand but very hard to solve engineering problem that NASA's engineers were focused on, scientists and engineers. So there is a spacecraft that is weighing almost 1,000 kgs, and that's coming at a phenomenally fast pace. Almost, what is this, from 21.6 million kilometers per hour is the speed with which it is coming through. And it has to be slowed down by 6,000 times, and it has to land on a crater. It's about 158 kilometers. And the challenge was, how do you take such a heavy object that is coming in and landing on the surface of Mars, and how do you slow it down? And it's one of the most complex problems that NASA worked on in their Jet Propulsion Lab in California, and they took almost 8 years to solve this. And it's one of those classic mechanical and electrical engineering problems that they solve. So I'm not going to talk about that. But when that problem was solved and Curiosity successfully landed, the person who was heading that particular division in NASA, he was asked, hey, how did you guys really solve this? And this is what he answered, and I thought it was one of the brilliant sources of inspiration that I got, and I thought I should share that with you. And he said, human beings are capable of great things when they work together. It's as simple as that. We are all individually brilliant, and our individual brilliance is essential, but that's not the only thing. What really matters is how well we put our knowledge, how well we share, how well we work together, that really solves. And here is someone who has solved a very, very complex engineering problem, working on it, some hundreds of great scientists and engineers working on it for 8 years. And then when it's solved, this is the net summary of what really caused this problem to be successfully solved. So I thought, okay, if you go back to some of the complex problems that we talked about, some of the world's most advanced R&D that we work on, how do you really solve this is, we all have great knowledge, great degrees, and great experiences, but unless we collaborate, unless we share, unless we work as a team, we are not going to be able to solve some of these problems. Like I showed you the cell phone tower and the next generation base station chip. There are almost about 350 engineers in our company working across 4 different sites that are trying to solve this, create this particular product. So it requires tremendous amount of teamwork and collaboration. So for me, I think, more than the individual brilliance, it is the teamwork that is very critical. And this is one of the best quotes that I've ever seen, where the definition for a team is, together everybody achieves more. I think it just in a very simple way tells you exactly what are the types of behaviors that we need to go solve it. So the question then is, how are you practicing teamwork in your batch? How well you are helping each other learn and grow? Because collectively, the wisdom present in this room is far greater than any one individual. So how do you really do this? How do you work on projects? How do you work on assignments? How do you get the diversity? What are your sources of information? I think if you start asking those types of questions, my take is our life will be much more, richer in terms of our experiences. So, when we start doing this, I had a recent problem where, as I mentioned, our company was bought over by a spin-off of HP, and I had to go and tell how well India, center is, and what are the great things that we in India do for the parent company. So, and this was a problem that I had, and one of the biggest learnings I had was from a person by name Simon Sinek, who talked about how when we have to inspire people to act, right? How do we really communicate? Are we communicating from the inside out, or are we communicating from the outside in? Focusing on why is probably the most critical thing, rather than how we do it or what we do it. I think addressing the core motivation in terms of why we do what we do, whether it is a simple challenge or a very complex problem. I think understanding that and getting alignment with everyone is something that is very critical. So I took that and said, why India is critical for a multinational company like ours. And we talk about 4 big reasons. There's a tremendous amount of talent. There's a lot of customers present. There's an opportunity to do many advanced products, and you can be very efficient in your R&D. So I thought I will show you one particular line of thought with respect to customer proximity. And if you look at where India is positioned today in terms of the economic landscape of the world, we are probably at the probably the luckiest, I would say, in terms of where we are present. And I've drawn a map here with a dot in the middle of India. I'm not sure whether it's Pune or where it is, Nagpur, but just go with that, right? It represents the complete country. And if you look at the eastern side of it, it's all of the Asia Pacific customers that we typically deal with, all of our Samsung, Japanese customers, Korea customers, Taiwan, Singapore, all of them. And similarly, if you look at the Europe and the Middle East region, it's very apparent that on any given day during our daytime, we have an opportunity to work with a large portion of the world where our customers and suppliers are present. And that gives us a tremendous opportunity to work in real time with them. And as you graduate and as you get into the industry, this is going to be one of the biggest advantages for us being in India, right? And I think this opportunity is really critical because our opportunity is to collaborate and collaborate and collaborate more. So when we are learning and when we are looking at, hey, how do I enhance my knowledge? How do I make a broader impact on the world? I think the geographic position of India in where the bigger customers and suppliers are going to be really critical. So then that question is, we all set our goals. We all try to say, yeah, let me try to learn as much as I can from every source. And we also try to say, hey, how much I can collaborate, how much I can do teamwork. But the one question that always comes to our mind is, are we really desperate to achieve this goal? And this is where I want to share another learning that I got from, a person by name Professor Randy Pausch. How many of you are familiar with Randy Pausch? The last lecture? Okay, so I would strongly urge you to go see some of these TED Talks and YouTube videos because, he's probably one of my favorite. And I'll tell you, he was a professor of computer science in Carnegie Mellon University in US. And they had a lecture series where professors love to give lectures, right? So they went and told him, hey, hypothetically speaking, if this were your last lecture, what would you like to talk about? And it so happened, unfortunately, he was diagnosed with some form of cancer. And he told the people, wow, your timing is so right because I'm going to die in a few months. And then he delivers a lecture, talks about not about computer science, but about what matters in life and how do you go about really choosing the right paths for your various activities in life. And I think this became one of the best, most widely watched videos. I don't know whether the Kollaveri thing overtook this or not, but definitely this one was really very well received. And then it later became a book and all of that. So I have probably watched this. It's about 1 hour, 20-minute video. I probably watched this about 10 times. It's really, really highly informative and inspirational as well. So I would strongly recommend you do that. And one of the things that he highlights is, whenever we try to do some things, we set a goal, we always see a brick wall. And, the brick wall tells us, don't try to get disappointed or turned off. How do we really work harder to overcome that? And the brick walls really tell us it gives us a chance to show, are we really after that goal, are we really trying to achieve that? And it also is a way by which you can filter out those who really are seeking a goal versus those who are just trying for the sake of trying. I think it was one of the most telling wisdom that I got, and definitely as you get into your professional careers, I would urge you to get inspired by such learnings that are available in front of us. Okay, so I did talk about learning from anywhere and shared some of my learnings and some of the opportunities for collaboration and how well we become truly desperate about achieving our goals. So to me, it is all about learning and collaborating and learning with operating in a teamwork. And as I said, right, individual brilliance is useful but not really the key. It is the teamwork where together everybody achieves more. I think is the key to success in any sphere of activity that we take. And definitely, as we continue to gain success, how do we keep learning, right? So I will close this with a quote that you may be very familiar with, where, the teacher is ready when the student is. Just shows that if you are eager to learn and if you are eager to grow, there are many sources of learning, many sources of information that you can assimilate. And I think, in this day, in the data-centric era and in this age of information, right, definitely reading books is critical, as well as, getting sources of information from, learning from anywhere, from any source of information is something that is worth it. Okay? So that's all I had in terms of what I wanted to share in terms of my experiences, my learnings. And I thought, I'll come back to the question that I asked. I don't know who I did on time, right? So what's your favorite movie and what you learned from? So we'll pick